All right, what is up, guys? Simple Sports back, another episode, and here we are. Saturday night, Titans have just won their wild card round against the Chiefs. Went into Kansas City, won on the road as I think 8-point underdog, and I have to tell you, I am very, very impressed. What a game, first of all. Just in general, the game was phenomenal. It was one of the better playoff games, especially for an opening round. I mean, it was a good game just overall. It was a sloppy game in the sense that it was pretty lopsided, one half and then the other. But I guess story-wise, getting down early and then coming back to win the game. Huge win by the Titans. And we're going to talk about it really quick while we're waiting on the next game to start. Atlanta and the Rams facing off next year. But, man, my heart's thumping because it was a nerve-wracking game, especially if you're a Titan. Well, it's a nerve-wracking game either way because obviously both teams had their moments to fret and for good reason. What a disaster for the Chiefs. What a comeback for the Titans. It was an awesome game. So let's talk about it. So I didn't have high hopes coming into this game for the Titans. I thought they would struggle. I thought it would be a close game, which obviously it was. They only won by a point. And I thought they could win the opening round, and they went out and proved it. It wasn't pretty, but it was impressive, and obviously the impressive part about it is going down and getting the comeback down 18 points, and they scored 19 unanswered. It was pretty phenomenal to watch, and especially for a young team, a young quarterback in his third year, who probably would have raised some questions if he had played poorly. He didn't play poorly regardless. Even if the game had kept up, he only made one mistake, and it really was a bad play call as much as it was a mistake on his part, that pick he threw. You just can't run something like that close to the goal line. It's supposed to be a clear-out play, especially with it being man-to-man defense, but because you're so close to the end zone, Corey Davis can't clear that guy out because he's really got nowhere to go. So that was really the only mistake made, I think. He made some great throws. He made some very tough plays, a couple of tough runs. And here's what I talked about this last week, and, I was questioning whether or not that run towards the end of the game was a defining moment. Marcus Mariota today played an outstanding game, and I think I don't want it to go underrated because it was a phenomenal game that he played. He took a huge hit, one of the biggest hits and one of the cleanest big hits you've seen on a quarterback in quite a while. I mean, he got rocked, and he hung in there and brought the team back. He threw a huge block towards the end of the game to seal it on a run for Derrick Henry to get the first down. And what I noticed was he also, a lot of times when he runs, whether it be a scramble or a design run, he tends to slide or step out of bounds, and a lot of times he does it too early, and it's frustrating. And I get it because he's trying. Obviously you don't want to take unnecessary contact, but there's often times where I think he could fight for the ball a little more, and he doesn't really. And again, I understand the safety aspect and trying to avoid injury and all of those things. So it's not necessarily that I am condemning him for it. But what I saw today was him fighting for those extra yards. There was a couple of times where I thought he was going to go out of bounds, and instead he cut it back inside and got an extra 3 or 4 yards and got a couple of first downs. He did the same thing on a crucial one, running down the sidelines. He picked up a first down when he normally probably either would have slid or stepped out of bounds. It was nice to see, and it was tough yardage. I don't know. It's just, as a fan, it's huge. It's been so long since they've won a playoff game. Like, I can't really even contain myself. It was so nice to see, and no one picked them to win. I think the only guy that picked them to win in the pregame was Randy Moss. It's great, and it was a great game by Mariota. It wasn't, some sloppy game that they just happened to win. And granted, Kansas City did some things to lose the game as well. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't as if the Titans played a absolutely terrible game, especially offensively. They actually did well offensively. They just couldn't put drives together in the first half. And defensively, they got into a couple of bad spots, but also they gave up a couple of big chunk plays. And, in the second half, they tightened it up. No pun intended. I guess that's your hashtag on Twitter. But, man, it was nice. It was a huge win as a Titans fan. That is for sure. A lot of talk about Malarkey and his job. A lot of fans want him gone, and Rubisky. I said previously, I'm not one to necessarily call for a guy to lose his job because those guys know a lot more about the game than I do. So I don't know how that's going to play out, even if they lose the next round. But, man, I have to say, I was extremely impressed with the way they fought back. Down 18, on the road, in Kansas City. No one's believing in you. Everyone's calling you a fraud. It's what a win for them, man. What a huge, huge win. Really, really pumped. Getting ready to watch the Rams and the Falcons kick it off. Man, I am at a loss for words, seriously, for what happened just a few minutes ago. I can't say enough about how well Mariota played. Let me take a look at the numbers really quickly because, man, what a game. So, all in all, a fairly even game. Tennessee proved to be a little too much to handle. Dominated time possession by about 5 minutes. Pretty even on first downs. 23-19, albeit 4 is quite a few. 12-14 passing. 12 and 14 respectively, Tennessee and Kansas City. Third down efficiency is what was key. 8 for 13 for Tennessee. Huge because in the past they've not been good on third down, and that's what causes drives to stall out. When they go into their no huddle, they seem to move the ball really well, and that's what they started doing towards the end of the first half, and it worked out for them. They got down, they got a field goal, and then they ran that for a large portion of the second half, and it worked out well for them. They ran 11 more plays, 64, which is a lot to throw at you in the NFL. And to have Derrick Henry run the ball, what did he run? I think 23 times, 24 times, something like that. He got quite a few carries. I'm at a loss for words. Let's see, 23 for 156, so huge game by him as well. Marcus Mariota was 19 of 31 for 205, 2 touchdowns and a pick. 88 passer rating. So not eye-popping numbers, but definitely better in the second half than he was in the first half. Alex Smith didn't play bad. They didn't put the game away. Bad play calling, I think. They didn't run the clock out. They tried to throw a little bit too much. He was 24 of 33 for 264, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 116 passer rating. Pretty good, but they didn't give the ball to Kareem Hunt enough. He only had 11 carries, 42 yards. I just don't think they ran the ball enough. 31 rushes by the Titans, and that's what they do. And that's why I thought they would have a chance to win in the playoffs because they do run the football. 31 carries, 23 of them for a back these days is fairly unheard of. Delaney Walker made a couple of huge catches. Rashard Matthews, pretty absent. Corey Davis made a couple of big catches on third down. And then Eric Decker, I don't know what's going on with him. He dropped a key third down pass early in the game that could have maybe slowed the bleeding down a little bit. But he did catch the go ahead touchdown, so he sort of made up for it. Odori Jackson got abused. Well, I shouldn't say abused, but he definitely got picked on. Definitely got picked on today, and then he muffed a punt. No good there. We can't have those mistakes. They did make quite a few mistakes actually, which surprisingly for Tennessee this year hasn't been the case. Like not the mistakes that they made tonight. The muff punt that hasn't happened all year. Things of that nature. The picks and turnovers by Mariota we've been dealing with, but largely they haven't made any huge mistakes for the most part, and they made a couple of this game. But as I said, overall, pretty impressed with the way they played. Again, Mariota, very, very impressive. Showed a lot of heart. I think they shut up a lot of people. Didn't look like they belong in the playoffs. Definitely in the first half. Second half, they shut a lot of people up. Came back and got the W. My hat's off to them. I don't know how it's going to go in the next round. They obviously are going to get the Pats or the Steelers, neither of which they match up really well with. I don't know. I think if it were up to me, I'd rather play the Steelers. I don't know if I'd want to face Tom Brady and the Patriots in Foxborough. But either way, it's going to be tough. So, flip a coin at that point. But, yeah, very, very impressed with Mariota today. Made some huge, huge plays in that game. Huge, huge plays. Threw a couple of key blocks, made a couple of key throws, couple of key runs. I mean, everything you needed your quarterback to do, he's done. And he's starting to show a little more emotion, which is pretty cool to see out of him. He's a pretty stoic guy, pretty laid back, but seemed to be a little more fired up as of late. So I'm pretty pumped about what's coming to Tennessee. Pretty pumped about it. So I'm going to keep this video short. I'm going to stop it here, get ready to watch the next game. But, man, I am so happy, so pumped. I can't even tell you how excited I am to have the Titans not only make the playoffs this year, but actually won a playoff game. What a huge win for the fans. I don't know what this is going to mean for Malarkey, whether they win or lose in the next round. I'd have to imagine if they win in the next round, he'd be safe. Given a loss, probably depends on how bad of a loss it is. If it's a blowout, sort of like a Broncos-Steelers situation a couple of years ago with Tebow going up to New England and getting blown out, it's kind of like, yeah, it's too good to be true. So I hope it's not one of those situations. I think if it's something like that, I think he goes regardless. I think if it's a close game, it's a competitive game, that he probably stays. I don't know how you get rid of a coach that made the playoffs and won a playoff game in essentially just 2 years of controlling the team and going from 3-13 to 9-7 to 9-7 in a playoff victory. It's kind of hard to fire a guy after that, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. The fans were clamoring for it all game, and that's how fans are. Fans are emotional. They're up and down with the game. I was the same way. First half, I was condemning all of them. Second half, I'm, screaming at my TV and just jumping up and down. So, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if he can get the victory next week. But, man, for today, what a win. It's been Simple Sports. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.